My name is Niranjan Singh. I am the so-called chair or the moderator of this first panel discussion, and welcome to the Homeland Security Summit. The theme is Integrated Security for a Changing World. And today I have a very illustrious profiles on both sides. Let me also set some broad context of this particular topic. Since it refers to hospitality and service sectors, we are definitely talking here about organizations and business organizations which are in the market and for which to operate smoothly there is definitely safe spaces needed and secure businesses. As we all know, people who are from the management background and people who are from military, there is a term called VUCA, V-U-C-A, right? VUCA stands for volatile. And the V stands for volatility in the market. The U stands for how uncertain life is, right? How uncertain it has been here in Manipur itself. Then the C stands for how complex our world has become. And the A is the ambiguity, the lack of understanding of the situation that we are in today. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just deep dive into it. Already 2 minutes. 30 seconds have passed and Bablu has given me 45 minutes of discussion and 5 minutes of Q&A. So my first question I would like to direct it to our dear Mr. Salam Sachhidananda, who is a general manager at Classic Group of Hotels. So Sachhidananda, we travel, we stay in hotels, and we know for a fact that we can never forget 26/11 attack in Mumbai, if we remember that. And it is a date that we can never forget and forgive as well. So, in hospitality, we are also trying to give a best of experience to our guests. We want to make guests feel very welcome, but at the same time, we want to be very subtle about the security arrangements that have been done. In this regard, what will be your view in terms of the integrated hotel security management? How do you balance the guest experience, at the same time the safety that you want for your guest?
Well, first of all, good afternoon everyone. When you talk about 26/11, I was very much working with Taj. And in fact, when the incident was happening, I had few of my batchmates, my friends inside the hotel. And I had few seniors from my school, my juniors, my batchmate. And it was very difficult for us working. I was working with Taj Lake Palace then. I was in touch with my friend, and he was moving the guests, shifting from the Chinese restaurant to the chambers.
Correct.
Yeah. So it was very difficult time, and later on, when the ordeal went on for 2-3 days, and when you heard that so and so, the person whom you know had passed away. So there is a scenario in hotel industry post 26/11, pre 26/11 and post 26/11. Then when the Taj immediately we give lots of priority to our safety concern also. Then sent all the security managers to Israel to train about safety and security. Before that, security used to be like controlling the staff and controlling the guests who are just moving in and out, and you will see the Darban opening the door. So the security managers, when they came back, and what they shared with us was, in case of, this is for everyone to listen also, in case of any such incident in anywhere you are, first, your safety, save your life. If everyone tries to save their own life, lots of lives will be saved. Lots of staff in Taj then, most of them, they had to go through this because they were trying to save a lot of people. That is why more casualty was there. I don't know if you would agree that have they tried, if everyone was trying to save their own life, then things would have been, the casualty would have been much lesser. Now coming to the point, the balancing the guest experience. Now in like the scenario after post 2611, things have changed. Now hotel industry earlier was more like welcoming the guests, what they like. We were very careful about what the guests may like, may not like. We were very careful about it. But post 2611 scenario in hotel industry had changed. Like X-ray scanner, more security, more surveillance, stringent checks. But at the same time, we need to ensure that the guests who are coming to the hotel does not feel they're in some security zone area and all. Like an airport is an area where it is a very vulnerable area, so they have to do certain security checks and certain you have to go through certain channels to get into the security halt area and all that. But whereas in the hotel industry, here also in our hotel, when we start checking, underbelly scanning of the vehicles, and when you ask someone to pass through the door frame metal detector, and if we want to fix them with the handheld metal detector, some do get offended. So we have to be very careful about our security system. It has to be intrusive. There has to be a security system in place, but at the same time, a guest coming to the hotel should not feel that there are too much restriction or check upon there. So we have systems in hotel like security, CCTV camera surveillance. So these are intrusive, not very much visible, but yes, at the same time, it captures lots of things for security purpose. In fact, this CCTV footage have helped us solve lots of cases also. A security person in hotel has to be very, in a demeanor manner when they have to ask a guest to check or something like that also. We have to, we cannot act like a security personnel, but we have to act like a hotel security is little different from other security areas. And at the same time, for in hotel area, everyone works as a security person. So everyone's on alert. If there's anything suspicious to be found in the guest or resident guest, if non-resident guest moving around in a corridor, if housekeeping finds it, so he or she will report. That's how the security system works in the hotel. And we need to be very sensitive about the cultural sensitivity also. Security protocol, at the same time respect guests' diversity, keeping their privacy and comfort. So this is how we need to balance in the hotel industry, security.
Thank you, Sachhidananda. That gives us an idea about how you have to be so well trained and well managed as a classic group of hotels in order to manage guest experience at the same time that your guests are safe. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really trust your, your leadership because of the many years that you have built classic group of hotels in Manipur and other states in Northeast under the leadership of our MD, Dr. Thangjam Dabli. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, coming back to the next point, I would like to take my attention to Shri Hervirender Singh, who has already served in Walt Disney Company, who is currently serving in Walt Disney, am I right?
Yes.
Yes, correct. And also, he has had his experience with Marriott International. I am not from the hospitality industry per se, but as an observer from outside, I always hear that if you are trained in Marriott, you are one of the most, preferred person to be in the hospitality industry. So my question to you is, let me just take you back. I'm not trying to come time and again back to Mumbai attack as such, but calamities do happen, emergency do take place. Like there was firing, there was fire at the top of Taj. Sometimes we have, Northeast is, sometimes you face earthquakes. So in such an incident, like such a calamity and emergency, could you please enlighten the audience on the emergency preparedness and the fire response, and how does the evacuation protocols really happen in international standard hotels like that?
Sure. So thank you very much for the question. I'm really thankful to the Homeland team for inviting me here. First, a disclaimer, this is all my personal experiences, not my company or my previous company's viewpoints. So let me first tell you, and I can piggyback on his point is, first of all, hotels are the most vulnerable ones. They are considered to be soft targets because they are very, very open and very, very public in nature. Most of the location you would find people having your identity cards and various checks required to before entering. In hotel you can just walk in and nobody is going to ask you, why are you here? So protecting them is equally difficult as compared to any other establishment. You can protect a corporate office, you can protect an airport, because there are people who are coming by default. In hotels it is not. Similarly, you cannot expect a customer to be trained to act to a kind of a security violation or to an emergency. They are come for leisure, they are come for business. So you can't expect to say, hey listen, in case this sounds, you need to run. It has to be your team, which is the hotel team, who needs to work to get them out to the safety. So I probably may conflict his statement that save yourself, but I think so you need to save whoever you can without risking yourself. That should be the core mantra in hotels. Without taking extra danger, just take whatever people you can, rather than just leave yourself and leave your customer behind who's still not trained in managing that. So now let's talk about the emergency preparedness about hotels, because yes, as you rightly said, we are in a VUCA world. Climate is changing, you have floods, you have earthquakes, you have everything coming in. So what do you do in terms of an emergency preparedness? I think so the biggest mantra is train, 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 train. So you have to make sure that you train your employee very frequently. First of all, from a fire safety standpoint, most of the hotel or the companies have a process in place. The person will not, from his probation, confirm until unless he or she has gone through a fire training. So if they have not completed a fire training, there is no point putting them onto the shop floor. So that's one. Then secondly, you need to make sure that your processes are in writing, communicated, trained to the people, and then regular drills, frequent drills. If you do not do frequent drills, we have seen that people get, perplexed. We have seen that. I can give you an example. We had bombings in the Marriott, JW Marriott and Ritz-Carlton in Jakarta. And when we were looking at footage, we saw people, instead of running outside, many of them were running inside because they were perplexed, because they have never done drills. Evac drills were not done. In case of an evac, you do not run back into the building, you run out of the building. So that is the importance of drills. We generally would comply to the local code, where local code will say once a year fire drill to be done. And that is also done in a very, very, I would say, easy manner. Okay, participate, not participate, do not bring in guests, there would be a disturbance. Yes, you can always plan them very well in advance. Send note to a customer. Customer will also love to be participating in it, because obviously they would also want to see what's happening, and do a drill. So it's important that you do regular drills. Checks and balances are very, very important. Auditing them on a regular basis, testing them out is the key. If you do not test them, it's there only in paper and nobody is going to action. And when actually something happens, people will not know what to do.
I just want to add a very quick short question to what you just said.
Yes.
You mentioned train, right? And in international standards, sometimes you have this fire drill fixed, like say 15th of October, 4 p.m. it's fixed, irrespective of who the occupants are in the building. So do you really follow this sometimes? Because it is after all for the safety of the people who are inside the building.
Yeah. So we should not be fixed. That is my point.
Okay.
You should follow, for example, like the NBC code or the local fire code says, like in Mumbai, it's twice a year. So it is every 6 months you have to do it. It's a mandate required by otherwise you can have issues with regards to compliance with the law. But I would say, I would do every 3 months. Who stops you? And you can plan in certain, do not involve the customer. You can do back of the house. You do partial evacuation, not necessarily full evacuation. Let's say one day, GM would say, okay, let's plan and do only back of the house evacuation. So that way at least your back of the house is evacuated. You can see if your processes are working. People are reaching out to the assembly point. People are doing the accountability check of each employee has been evacuated or not. So at least you have done that bit of it. And then you can do next time somewhere else. And then probably with customer do once a year, if that be the case. But I think so it's important that you do the drills, and it's important that they are sometimes planned and sometimes unplanned. Because the moment you do planned, people's, I would say, are very relaxed. And in unplanned one, you will actually see the lacunas and what are the challenges. The moment you do it one day, immediately, today there is no, I come from a corporate world, and the day we have a planned one, you would see people already at that period time of down on the ground floor. So just wait for the sound and then go to the assembly point. Nobody wants to travel 30 floors down the staircase to go to the evacuation point. So the entire purpose is defeated. Right? So it is important that you do one unannounced, which is basically known only to the core group, which is your emergency command team, and not everybody. And the rest you can do planning.
Thank you very much. So if the smoke alarm rings, you know where to run, right? Where is the assembly point? This sound high madadi sum irai laiba pot amadi oiba, but tasing nadi kunsikan bagi process ne high tare, but that's why it's very important. For example, smoky alarm ring tora agadi kadai da chintha gani kadai da akoi myam pun gani hai si khanggadabni na si mahani. Excuse me for using the local language.
I was just one big point is specifically in hotels, when we used to do majority of banquets, we always used to have a safety briefing before start of the function, so that they know that there is no drill plan today. Second is, if there is an alarm, it's a real fire alarm. And third is to evacuate only when there is a message being sent for the evacuation, and not just only on the alarm.
Thank you so much for educating us and shedding light on that point. Now I turn my attention to Brigadier Vikrant Kulkarni. Diwali is coming up, festive season is on, right? So there's a lot of footfalls, bazaar gets crowded. In Manipur, like Ningol Chakova is coming. Himachal will be really crowded, the Pauna Bazaar, the so-called Dhanga Bazaar. In Delhi, we had a terrorist attack in Lajpat Nagar and Sarojini during the Diwali festival. Right? That's the hot favorite time for people to strike at the public and create fear. I want to ask you, sir, that in terms of say sensitizing this high footfall environments, like for security, and also doing security audits, and also mapping the risk of such festivals where large number of crowd gathers. How do you do such things from the security perspective?
Firstly, my sincere thanks for calling me up, and more than me is my NCC cadets here, because they are the one who is they have the future, and some of them might like to join this profession. So they are going to get a good exposure today. Thanks for that. I have not been part of the hospitality industry, so I will give a bit external perspective from a uniformed person. Yes, everybody talked about Taj. I did join National Security Guards, NSG, just immediately after, few months after the incident. So we used to go through these permutations and combinations and multiple things based on that. So the way I understand this hospitality industry and security is primarily, it's a wide spectrum. One spectrum you talk about is, one end is loss prevention, that is minor incidents on one side. Some where there is no threat to life, there is no threat to brand. Somewhere in between, you see incidents like Cordelia Cruz incident, where the son of a very famous Bollywood actor was involved. So there was no threat to life, but definitely there was a threat to brand. Then on the other extreme is like a Taj incident, where there is a threat to brand and there is a threat to the human life. So all these incidents have to be handled in a different perspective. But everything is in hindsight. You don't know when the thing is happening. The information coming in bits and pieces. The clear picture emerges only subsequent. So after 2 days I can say, okay, such and such thing happened. But while the things are happening, the people on ground had to take a call with an open mind. Like in army we say that you prepare, you always practice for the past war. But when you actually go in, the plan is the first casualty. So it is going to happen because the enemy or the, say, terrorist is going to play in a different way. Now, we talk about, everybody talks about Taj incident. There was a famous case study of Howard industry, Howard University. They had done the study. Why did the Taj employees didn't run away? It's a very elaborate study. It's a very nice study. They have their own views. People might differ. But they say it is because of the selection of the people. It is because of the training of the people. It is more the sense of belongingness of the employees which they had developed towards their own institution. And then the leadership given at that point of time on ground. If the combined effect of was that the many of the employees preferred to protect their guests even at the threat of their own life. Yes, it must have, I don't know, I won't comment on the type of casualties which occurred. It has many reasons. But the dedication of the employees to their staff in spite of risk to their own life is very, very commendable. So if one can get into that environment, it is always going to be a force multiplier for the entire organization per se. Now, he talked about sensitivity of environment. What we have been looking at the issue is yes, whenever we look at a particular area, obviously the sensitivity and the mapping is done. The relative profiling is done, and based on that, you try and employ your resources optimally, so that in case things go wrong, in case something is going to happen, you can take the steps accordingly.
Thank you very much, Brigadier. Mr. Amit Mehta, you have been with Marriott.
Yes.
And you are still?
Yeah, I'm still with
Alright. Okay. Like in terms of, you know, a lot of things actually takes place generally in a hotel, right? From parking lots to the lobby, to so many things, the activities are happening, guests are coming in and out, so many activities are being planned in a day. And there are, so one of the main responsibility of the security leadership in a hotel is that how can I make it work with zero error at any given point of time. So in order to happen that, what would be the kind of a digital surveillance that we are looking at to deter the miscreants? And when you design hotels, or even if the hotel is designed, when the security team comes in, what are the kind of infrastructure and the design that you look out for? So all in all, how do you use these three elements to deter any kind of mishaps or crimes within the hotel premises?
Thank you so much. I think we'd like to thank Homeland for the opportunity. And I think we've all spoken about 2611, and I am one of the biggest examples of 2611 because I was the EM accommodations of Taj Bombay at that time, the senior most manager of the hotel when the attacks happened, and I was in the lobby when the attacks started. So I've lived through those 61 hours of the hotel attack, and I think it was a time where we learned so much. And so you spoke about the Harvard case study. I was part of that study. And I was fortunate that I even got the Bravery Award for that. So I think it was a time where we got a lot of learning out of it. But again, coming back to your question, what is really important for us as a hotel is something that as operators, it keeps me always thinking that what is the most important thing? And the most important thing that I want or we want is the trust that the customer has on us. The trust that the owners have on us when they've given their assets, which are more than 500 crores or 1,000 crores to run. So what is it important for us to make sure that that trust is never broken? So how do we do that? I think the most important aspect when we look at that is reputation management. How do you manage the reputation of an establishment? So how do you manage this? By making sure that nothing really goes wrong in that establishment, which can showcase that establishment in a wrong light. So today things are changing. I really like the concept and the theme of this conference. It's what? It is integrated security for the changing world. Today the world is changing very fast. The digital age is changing so fast that there is so much that can be done with AI, and I don't know how many of you know there is something called IoT.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how many the IoT is called Internet of Things. And how does it work? It's a consolidation of smart devices which can really make sure that your security is so strong without too much of physical presence. What happens to a customer when the customer walks in? We all live in this world. How comfortable are we when we have somebody very close to us trying to look at us or trying to be coming into our safe zone? There is a safe zone that all of us are having in our own environment. So we feel a little uncomfortable when somebody comes very close to our safe zone. But today, the technology has given us that opportunity that without coming into the safe zone of the customer, you can track everything and anything that you want to track for the safety and security of that individual and the asset that you are managing. So how do we do that? I think the best way to do it is through the time when we start running and making a hotel. Because when you start making a hotel, that's the best time to integrate all aspects of security so that you can cover everything that is required to run the department with information that will help you secure the business. So I think there is CCTV cameras, there are fire alarm systems, there are smoke detectors. So everything is existing in the hotels. But today the technology is moving to a different level because these things were already there. ये सब पहले से थे. CCTV cameras in the hotels have always been there. Fire alarms have always been there. But what is changing today? Today the technology is changing in such a way that even the RFID keys that we used to have are slowly going away. And what is happening? We are giving keys to customer on his mobile so that the key doesn't go into the wrong hand. That is one aspect of it. Second aspect of our technology that we are looking at is we have things like thermal detectors. How does a thermal detector work? Thermal detector is a detector which is there in the room or in a location which can tell you that there is something wrong in that area. For example, if I have a thermal detector in this hall and I have set the temperature of this hall as 21, 22 degrees Celsius, and suddenly we feel that the temperature of this hall is increasing. It is going up to 30 degrees. What will happen? The thermal detector will automatically detect and send to my control center that there is something not right in this hall. Please go and see what is happening in this hall, because there is something which is not aligned with what my system is supposed to do. So what happens with that is it helps you go and address the problem immediately. If a lot of our guests who come to the hotel are single travelers. A single traveler stays alone in the room. They are sleeping in the night. And imagine if there's something that is happening which is a medical emergency. How does a detector help you? What the detector does is the detector detects that the customer is uncomfortable. He or she is moving very fast without the video. It is just a thermal image without the privacy getting impacted of the customer. It is telling you that the customer is uneasy. There is something not right in that room. Please try and go and address the problem. So I think there is so much that this IoT has got into the hotel industry today, which we can learn from, and technology which we can really absorb and give the owners, the customer, our associates, and everybody who's involved in our industry a far secure and a far stronger environment which they'll be very comfortable to work with without being on the face. So I think there is technology is something which is never ending. There is so much happening today, and it is something that will keep evolving, and we also keep learning. Today I know something. I think after 2 days there will be something new that will come in, and will make us think that okay, we need to do something more. So I think the design element of the hotels and the construction of the hotels has to be such that it is technologically driven, it is easy for people to operate, and it makes the system so robust that if there is anything that is happening in your asset, you are able to pick up those pointers and address them before it becomes a bigger problem. So I think that's something that.
Thank you so much. Having come from the industry, it's a pleasure for all of us to sort of understand that what is the latest technology which is really giving guests a safe and secure environment for guests to enjoy the hospitality of brands like Marriott. Thank you so much, Mr. Sachhidananda. This is like without any question as such. From your great experience that you have had in the hospitality industry over the years, all across various geographies, like personally for you, what is security leadership, especially in your hospitality industry, because you have been there in the hospitality industry for a very long time. So please share your personal opinion about what security leadership personally mean to you in your industry.
Security is a very important part in the hotel industry, like all the panelists have mentioned about. In hotel industry, hotel is one area. You have restaurants, you have room, you have public area where people can access to. Unlike offices or other places where only the person who is working there can enter. Only like in the airport, only person with tickets can only enter. So it's very very important. At the same time, it's difficult. So that some guests, if you find them to be suspicious, you still cannot act suspiciously. You need to be very observing discreetly. So when it comes to leadership in security, a person who's heading the security department needs to be, so most of the security personnel comes from a background from, arms, service, or, from police, service and all that. But when it comes to hotel industry, it is a little different. We need to deal in a different way. So that leadership of providing security to the guests and observing at the same time keeping surveillance of the hotel, balancing that is also very important. That person needs to know about a little bit of hospitality. That person needs to be, you cannot call up someone and, there are instances like, some guests have done something wrong, but you still cannot approach or tell him directly that, sir, you have done so and so thing wrong. But yet, at the same time, you need to, observe through surveillance or through watchful eyes. Sometimes, if things are not, if the guest is not making things even worsen, we let them go quietly without even, when you act, the other guests may get offended also. So it's very important that the security leader needs to act according to the situation, needs to treat everyone equally, even though there must be in a group of gathering, there might be someone who has some kind of criminal cases also, but you cannot look him differently also. You need to treat everyone. So security leadership, especially in this, it's very important that you need to be first trained as a security person in terms of surveillance also. At the same time, you need to have that quality in you also.
Thank you so much. As far as my personal experience goes, like under your leadership, I think we have not had any such security problem in Classic Hotel till date. We have had a great experience in your hotel. So thank you, and I'm sure things are in place.
So we let it go unnoticed. Whatever has happened, handle it discreetly so that lots of things have happened, but we let it go discreetly so that no one notices. Right. That's about leadership. That's about a security person. How he or she needs to handle, especially in hotel industry.
You have been very successful. Thank you so much. Mr. Pal, you've had illustrious career from Marriott International, and currently you are attached with one of the, iconic company called Walt Disney Company. So the transition from the trainings that you have had in Marriott International to another global company called Walt Disney. So what does security leadership mean to you in terms of your learning from these two great companies?
Okay, so let me talk about leadership. Irrespective whether you are in a hotel or whether you are in corporate world. I think so very, very important is that you need to be very honest, that's one, integrity, two, flexible, agile, 24/7 alert, because your threats will not say that, oh, I'm going to come between 9 to 5. Sorry, after 6 there's no threat coming in. So I need to be agile. He needs to be very, very open to learn. That's more important, because so much change is happening within this world. You have now threats with cyber. You have insider threats. You have workplace violence issues. You have mental health issues. So the guy has to be expert in everything. He has to be. Initially, people used to say, "Hey, he's a jack of all, but master of none." But he's master of something. That's why he's there. So being jack of all is really important in hospitality, because you have to, at times, as he rightly said, that you cannot go and tell customer that you're doing something wrong. I remember my time that we have changed into housekeeping uniform and gone and searched his room. I can't give the exact nature of the searches that we have done, but we have done it. And we have been successful in finding things. So it's important that you have to be creative. If you cannot find solutions for the issues, you are not a successful leader. So I think it's very, very important that you develop your skills, embrace new technology, as Amit sir said very clearly. new technology which is coming in. What can you use to avoid inconvenience? Nowadays, you do not need X-rays. You have milliwave technology where it's a complete corridor. There is no machine, but at a background, somebody is already seeing what are you carrying. So it's really investment, but it depends upon how much investment one needs to do for security and making your employees safe. I know in many of the parks in like important locations, we have seen these milliwave technologies being deployed, which detects the weapons. Airports, you have nowadays human scanners, which completely doesn't, you need not do the swipe. You do not need anybody to go through the walkthrough metal detector. It will tell you whether you have weapons or not, whether you have metals or not. So I think so you have to be creative, you have to be agile, you have to make sure that you are able to comprehend the situation and provide solutions. You cannot be business disabler, you have to be a business enabler. In security, generally everybody say, hey listen, he is a business disabler. He's always say, no, this cannot happen. I think so the leader should be who can say, hey, yes, this can happen, but these are the mitigation measures if you put in place. Make sure that things can happen. Do not have always the answer to a problem, no, you cannot do this. He should, yes, we can do it, but however, these are the risks that we have identified, and these are my suggestive mitigation measures. Then business, can take, yes, okay, let's do it, because yes, it makes sense. But if it is beyond the cost of the business that we are going to get in, probably you may not do it. So I think that that's more important from a leadership, and these skill sets will take you everywhere. Not in hospitality, it will take you in corporate world or in factories or whichever mindset you are in business you are working. I think so these qualities will take you forward.
Thank you so much. We are already learning a lot today with all these panelists. One thing that we have learned till now is that health and safety and security is of prime importance no matter what job role that you have, right? So with that, I will turn my attention to Brigadier Vikrant, and sir, try to understand from you, from your perspective, not from hospitality or business or all of that. I mean, with the experience that you have had so far, right? What is your thought on security leadership?
Yeah, I'll just take the thought processes which have been discussed so far. What does a leader do in a security situation? No two situations are same. So a leader in a security environment has to be receptive to all types of inputs, and he has to continuously analyze the incoming inputs. At times, input might be very, very small, but it may have a cascading effect on subsequent decision making. So you have to be open to the all inputs and then keep reacting accordingly. The second part is what we generally talk about. Okay, you have to find a workable solution to under the given limitations. You have to, like what the other panelists have just talked about, business continuation is also a very critical aspect. So your working solution has to be within those parameters contributing to the continuation of the main activity. It should not be at the cost of that continue. Otherwise the security person will always say, okay, shut down everything. But then that is not the answer. That is not a working answer. So that should not cost the main business. And then while doing so, you have to ensure the various security aspects associated to that business activity. That's how we should look at it.
Thank you, Brigadier. You know, the attacks and the challenges are 24/7. It may come at any point of time, but let the show go on and be prepared for it. Yeah. That's what I learned from you. Last but not the least, Mr. Amit Mehta, from your perspective, independently, I just want you to share your thoughts on security leadership.
So again, my thought on leadership is, who's a leader? As Pal Saab said, that
a leader should always be a business enabler. Business enabler means you're supposed to be taking care of the business that you're doing. So today, security leadership is not only about making sure that the physical asset is protected. Because I'll give you an example of cyber security. I don't know how many of you know, but there is this company called MGM Resorts. They run casinos in Las Vegas and Macau and a lot of places. In mid-2023, there was a cyber attack on MGM Resorts. And you know how much it costed them? It costed them $100 million, almost 900 crores. And what did the person do? He just called the help desk and he said, I'm an employee of MGM Resort and I want to get access to the admin rights of the company's site. And the help desk unfortunately gave that person the access. And they were able to do so many changes in the site that it had huge impact on MGM's business and they lost almost $100 million. So what I'm trying to say here is as a leader, you have to look at a multifaceted operation. And you need to have a 360-degree view. Because a lot of times what happens is, as leaders, sometimes we are in a very narrow environment where we see what is happening around me. But as a leader, you need to take a bird's eye view sometimes. Get yourself a little above, do a 2,000 feet view and see how my ecosystem for which I've been hired by the organization is working. And what are the areas which I need to look at? Because security today is not about physical protection only. Security today is about digital protection. Because if a customer has come to us and has shown the trust of giving his or her passport, credit card, all the important information, how important it is for me as an organization to protect that. I think it is paramount. I cannot make that information public. So as a leader, please look at your area of domain in a very holistic way and look at it from all aspects and see how anything that is happening in the environment around you can impact your operations and how you can mitigate that. So I think a leader is always a learner, because without being a learner you can never be a leader. I have been running hotels for the last 28 years now, but I still cannot say that I know everything. And none of us can, because the way the technology today is, the way the ecosystem of the global geopolitical system is changing, we have to keep ourselves updated, we have to keep ourselves learned, and we have to keep thinking how to mitigate the risk that is existing and how to mitigate the risk that might come in the future. So I think that for me, a leader is the one who is a learner, and a leader is the one who has always a 360-degree view, and he is an enabler of the business, but not a disabler.
Thank you so much. I think from what we heard just now, there are two key takeaways, you know. One is, like, you see this panelists, they are leader in their respective fields and in their rights, and you see this time and again coming that a leader has to be a lifelong learner. You know, what you learned in 2013 is not anymore relevant in 2025 October right now. So leaders are continuous learner. And another interesting fact is when Mr. Amit shared about the MGM resort thing, about a small thing, pick up a admin rights, company, 100 billion, nothing in it, right? So what are the lessons for us? Like, a small thing can also cascade into such a huge loss of $100 billion. Same was, echoed by our Brigadier here as well. That's why in security we need to take care of every small detail. So that's the takeaway. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here. I think I'm on time, Prahlad. Maybe I overshot by 3-4 minutes. I'm trying to keep the time, you know. And before we end, I would love to open the house for Q&A for 5 minutes. Questions kung balay biraga so minute mangatang hanging ba kuning ba security matang da hang bayani. 5 minutes, and I think somebody can sort of facilitate if anybody wants a microphone. Yes, Prahlad.
I might have. I want to be given a mic. No, yeah. My voice is loud enough, I guess.
Oh yes. Yes.
Right. So I know we're running short on time. My question would be to Mehta and to Mr. Hervirender Singh. You have. Thank you. You have between between the two of you, you have more than 60 years of experience in the hospitality industry. I want to understand, or if you can give us a lived experience, an example that you have gone through or experienced, lived, where you have, averted what could have been a big mishap, if you can remember. I know it's coming, just spontaneously, but if you can remember any such incident.
Sir, you take it.
Okay, I can take it. So, I think so. Let this be case study be within this whole group rather than being shared. I can talk about, I think so, 2611 itself, the whole saga. But prior to 2611, as we as security professionals were not just looking at, we were looking at the terrorism threats to the hospitality industry for quite a long time. And many of our hotel chains, not just in India, but also was outside, was targeted for various different reasons. So what we did was, we actually went into a huddle and we thought that, what can we do to make sure that every single hotel of ours is protected? So we came up with something called as a model, which is called as 4D model. Detect, deny, delay, or if you have to defend yourself. So these were the 4D model. So what we did was, we went ahead with a process which was called as threat condition at that time, period of time. And
Threat condition.
yes. Sir would remember, now you have got 3.0. I am talking about the 1.01 or the 0.0.
Now it's 3.0.
Yes, 3.0. now it is diluted threat condition. So we went into that and we outlined processes and requirements for hotels operating in vulnerable locations. So we identified every single location. We did threat analysis. It was a regular threat analysis. It's not just doing threat analysis when you're making a hotel. We were doing subsequent threat analysis to see what is the kind of activity happening. Like sir said, see ahead. So we were seeing ahead that, we are picking up the trends of terrorism, and hotel attacks were very, very prominent at that time. They were less costly, and they used to bring in a lot of media attention, a lot of issues, economic losses to the country. So we went ahead with threat condition implementation. While that was very costly for us, because putting in infrastructure like bollards, ensuring that the hotel which have standoff has bollards so that there is no VBID comes into the place. You have X-rays, you have surveillance detections, and so on and so forth. So in our hotels in India, our majority of hotels were operating on threat condition red. And we used to require called as surveillance detection teams. And these teams were basically people in civil. They were security team members, but in civil. Somebody will be sitting at the road, selling bidi or cigarettes, doing something else. But his focus was always towards the hotel, that who's trying to carry out surveillance on our hotels. And that really worked well for us. Second was, every day the security guy would sit with the reservation and go through the entire arrival list of the guests who had made reservation and do profiling based on what is their company, which are their company, which country they are coming in from, which risk country they are coming in from, what company are they, what is the business behind it. That time we never had those technologies of doing social media monitoring. Today we have those tools available, but that time we never had. So those were the things that we were able to do, and not many people know. Just 5 days before 26/11 and few months before 26/11, we did catch a lot of people trying to carry out surveillance activities on our hotels in Mumbai. So it is not that our hotels were not on the target list during 26/11. And one of the hotels had one of the key conspirators, who's currently now in NIA custody from US, stayed in our hotel. Not head. Mr. Rana. Yeah. So he stayed at one of our hotels. So we averted because we always said that, our hotel security has to be higher than somebody else. If it is there, why you put a good lock on your door? Is because the thief cannot pick your lock, he will go to somebody else whose locks is weak. So hardening of a target was very important for us, which we did, and we averted. Sadly, it happened that it impacted Taj at that period of time. It could have been us, and that is the reason. After that, we started working with something called as Hotel Security Working Group, which was sharing information amongst our hotel groups, be it knowledge sharing, be it threat information sharing, so that we all can cohesively work and not get impacted.
I was in the hotel that time, and when you have 4 terrorists with AK-47s roaming in your hotel, what do? And I was the senior most in the hotel, I was the EM accommodation, and everybody, the whole hotel was looking at me, and I had 2,000 people in the hotel at that time. Because my hotel was full, my banquets was full, my restaurants were full. I had 2,000 people. So what do? So I think the first thing that came to my mind at that time was communication. How important is communication? So I had an amazing core team of my telephone operators, and I got 3 of my smartest people from my front desk, and I put them in my telephone and I said, start calling each room and tell the guest, please do not venture out of your room, close all your lights, close your TV, and don't make noise. And trust me, it made such a big difference. You know how many people we lost? We lost 31 people in Taj, Bombay during those attacks, and our sniffer dog Lucy. Out of 2,000 people, we were able to rescue so many people. When you have 4 people with AK-47 trying to kill everybody on site, it was something that we were able to achieve because we were communicating in the right way. So we firstly communicated to all residents, don't come out of your rooms, switch off the lights, switch off the TV, and portray as if there's nobody inside the room. Second thing we did was, all the customers we had mobile phones. We started calling the customers and telling them that if you are not in the hotel, please do not come to Taj Bombay. There is a concern. Go to our other hotel, Taj Lands End. And that made almost 150 to 200 customers not come to the hotel. And I remember Mr. Sohail Seth was coming to the hotel. Sohail Seth called me up next day and he said, Amit, only because of your call, otherwise I would have entered the hotel within 20 minutes. So I'm just telling you how important communication is and the right frame of thought processes when you have something which is adverse to the environment that we work in. So as a case study, I think communicating in the right manner, thinking immediately and implementing it is something that if you do right, you will be able to have the impact much less than what it can create if it is not done the right way.
I think on that high note of how security and health and safety becomes so important, and I think you gentlemen do not just only work in the hospitality industry and give a great experience to your guests, but also you save lives. So kudos to all of you. Thank you so much for being a panelist on the first panel discussion here. Thank you, Homeland Security for giving us this opportunity, and we have the industry leaders sitting with us and sharing with you the latest trends about technology, innovation, best practices. Kamaina kunsi kalogune hai basico. Macha or simple practice tagi. So gentlemen, thank you so much. I think that will mark the end of the first panel discussion. Thank you so much, Homeland Security.